The email arrived on a Tuesday morning at 6:47 a.m. I know the exact time because I was holding my coffee mug when my phone buzzed, and I watched a single drop of coffee fall onto my kitchen counter as I read the subject line, Anniversary Event Update, Please read. My mother, Patricia, had never sent me a formal email before. We texted. We called. We left voicemails that started with "It's Mom," as if I wouldn't recognize her voice. But this was different. This was corporate and deliberate. I opened it. Dear Olivia, after careful consideration, your father and I have decided that the 30th anniversary celebration will be an intimate affair. We think it's best if you watch via the live stream link we'll send. Your presence might create unnecessary tension given recent family dynamics. We hope you understand. The live stream starts at 6 p.m. Saturday. Love, Mom and Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. Unnecessary tension. Recent family dynamics. They were uninviting me to their anniversary party using words that sounded like they'd been copied from a corporate HR memo. I wasn't being excluded from a wedding or a funeral. I was being removed from a celebration of their marriage like a problematic employee being let go. I set my coffee down. My hands weren't shaking. That's what surprised me most. I thought I'd feel rage or heartbreak or the desperate urge to call and beg them to reconsider. But I didn't feel any of that. I felt something colder. I felt like an accountant staring at a balance sheet that had been bleeding red ink for 15 years, and someone had just asked for another loan. Before I tell you what I did next, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to see who's part of our community today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support and thank you for being part of our community. I sat down at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. The blue light illuminated my face in the early morning darkness. I didn't call my mother back. I didn't draft an angry text. I didn't cry. Instead, I opened a file I had been keeping for the past 3 years. It was titled Family Financial Overview. Inside were spreadsheets, bank statements, automatic transfer confirmations, and receipts. Lots and lots of receipts. You see, my parents didn't just uninvite me to their anniversary party. They uninvited the person who had been paying for their entire lifestyle since my father's business collapsed in 2010. They uninvited their landlord. They uninvited their financial lifeline. They just didn't know it yet. Let me take you back to where this really started. Not to the email. 15 years earlier, when I was 23 years old, my father's construction company went bankrupt. I was fresh out of college, working my first real job as a junior architect at a firm in Boston. My salary was $42,000 a year, and I thought I was rich. I had my own apartment, a hand-me-down car, and a future that felt bright and full of possibility. Then my father called me on a Sunday afternoon. His voice was different. Flat and hollow. Olivia, honey, we need to talk. He told me the business was gone. The housing market had crashed, contracts had been canceled, and the creditors were circling. They were going to lose the house. They were going to lose everything. My mother was crying in the background. I could hear her sobs through the phone, high-pitched and desperate. We just need a little help, my father said. Just until we get back on our feet. 6 months, maybe a year. I was the oldest of 3 children. My younger brother, Cameron, was 19 and in college. My youngest sister, Bryn, was 16 and still in high school. I was the responsible one. I was the one with the steady job. I was the one who fixed things. So I said yes. I took out a personal loan and gave them $15,000 to cover the mortgage for 3 months. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself they'd pay me back. I told myself I was doing the right thing. That was 15 years ago. They never paid me back. They never got back on their feet. They just got comfortable. Over the years, the help escalated. The mortgage payments became a regular thing. Then came the car repairs. Then the medical bills my mother's insurance wouldn't cover. Then my sister's college tuition when she decided she wanted to go to a private school. Then my brother's wedding. Then my father's new truck because the old one finally died. Every time, it was an emergency. Every time, it was temporary. Every time, I said yes. By the time I was 30, I had moved into a tiny studio apartment to save money. I drove a 12-year-old Honda that rattled when it went over 40 miles per hour. I ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches for dinner most nights. Meanwhile, my parents bought a new outdoor grill. My sister got a designer handbag for her birthday. My brother and his wife went on a cruise. I told myself I was helping. I told myself my family was supposed to sacrifice for each other. I told myself that one day they'd see how much I'd given up, and they'd appreciate it. They'd love me more for it. But that's not what happened. What happened was I became invisible. I became the automatic payment that showed up every month. I became the safety net they didn't even think about anymore. And the worst part? They started treating me like I was the burden. Like I was the one who was difficult. Like I was the one creating problems. It started small. My mother would make comments about my apartment. "It's so cramped, Olivia. Don't you want something nicer?" She'd say it while sitting in the living room I was paying the mortgage on. My father would criticize my career choices. "Architecture isn't as stable as it used to be. Maybe you should have gone into finance." He'd say it while driving the truck I'd helped him buy. But the real breaking point came 6 months ago at my brother's birthday dinner. We were all sitting around the table at an expensive steakhouse. Cameron and his wife, Natasha, had just announced they were buying a house. My parents were thrilled. My mother was crying happy tears. My father was toasting with champagne. "We're so proud of you," my mother said, reaching across the table to squeeze Cameron's hand. "You've worked so hard. You've really made something of yourself." I sat there, holding my water glass, and felt something crack inside my chest. I had worked hard too. I had worked 2 jobs for 3 years to help keep them afloat. I had skipped vacations, skipped meals, skipped my own dreams to fund theirs. But I'd never gotten a toast. I'd never gotten tears of pride. Later that night, when the bill came, the waiter placed it in the middle of the table. Everyone looked at it. Then everyone looked at me. It was automatic. Reflexive. Olivia would take care of it. Olivia always took care of it. I paid the bill. $340 for a meal I barely touched. That night, I went home and opened my banking app. I started adding up the numbers. The mortgage payments. The car repairs. The emergency loans. The gifts I'd bought them on their birthdays and Christmases while I bought nothing for myself. The tuition payments. The medical bills. The total was staggering. $127,000 over 15 years. I stared at that number until my vision blurred. That was a house. That was life. That was the future I'd sacrificed to keep them comfortable while they treated me like an inconvenience. I made a spreadsheet that night. I titled it Family Financial Overview. I documented everything. Every transfer. Every check. Every credit card charge. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just knew I needed to see it. I needed proof that I wasn't crazy. I needed evidence that I had given everything and gotten nothing back. And then, 6 months later, I got the email. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at that email, and I realized something. My parents hadn't invited me because of recent family dynamics. They'd uninvited me because my sister Bryn had gotten engaged, and her fiancé, Derek, came from money. Real money. The kind of money that made my $127,000 look like pocket change. Bryn had always been the favorite. She was the baby. She was charming and pretty, and always knew how to say the right thing. She'd skated through life on charm and good luck while I'd worked myself to exhaustion in the shadows. And now she was marrying someone rich, and suddenly my parents didn't need me anymore. They had a new benefactor. A shinier, more impressive one. One they could show off to their friends. I was being replaced. And they didn't even have the decency to tell me to my face. I closed the laptop. I stood up. I walked to my window and looked out at the gray Boston morning. The sky was heavy with clouds, threatening rain. And I made a decision. If they wanted to treat me like a business transaction, I would respond like a business. If they wanted to cut me out, I would close the account. But first, I would send them a final statement. I spent the next 3 days preparing. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not my best friend, Sarah. Not my coworker who'd become like a sister to me. I worked alone, in the quiet of my apartment, building something that felt like a monument to all the years I'd spent being invisible. I printed out the spreadsheet. All 23 pages of it. Every transaction was highlighted. Every payment was dated. Every amount was circled in red ink. I added a cover page that looked like an official invoice. At the top, in bold letters, I wrote, "Outstanding balance due, $127,000. Below that, I added a note, "Payment terms, immediate. Failure to remit payment will result in cessation of all financial support effective immediately." I signed it. I dated it. I put it in a large manila envelope. Then I did something that felt both terrifying and liberating. I logged into my bank account and canceled every single automatic transfer I had set up for my parents. The mortgage payment, the car insurance, the phone bill, the streaming services they used, the monthly allowance I sent my mother. All of it. Gone. My hands were shaking as I clicked the final confirmation button. This wasn't anger. This was surgery. I was cutting out a part of my life that had been poisoning me for 15 years. I addressed the envelope to my parents' house. I didn't write a letter. I didn't include an explanation. The spreadsheet was the explanation. The numbers told the story better than I ever could. I mailed it on Thursday. Priority mail. Signature required. The party was on Saturday. That gave them exactly 2 days to open the envelope, process what it meant, and decide how to respond. I didn't expect an apology. I didn't expect gratitude. I expected rage. I expected denial. I expected them to call me selfish and cruel and ungrateful. But I didn't care anymore. The part of me that needed their approval had died somewhere around transaction number 247 on that spreadsheet. Friday passed in a strange, quiet blur. I went to work. I ate lunch at my desk. I came home and made dinner. My phone didn't ring. No texts came through. The silence was louder than any argument. Saturday morning, I woke up at 5:30 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I made coffee and sat on my couch, staring at my phone. The Livestream link was supposed to arrive at noon. I didn't know if they'd actually send it. I didn't know if the party was even still happening. For all I knew, they were scrambling right now, trying to figure out how to pay their bills without me. At 11:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was an email from my mother. The subject line was blank. I opened it. There was no message. Just a link to a private YouTube live stream. I stared at it for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to delete the email and spend the day doing something, anything else. But another part of me, the part that had been invisible for 15 years, needed to see it. I needed to know what was worth more than me. At 6 p.m., I clicked the link. The stream loaded slowly, buffering in choppy bursts. Then the image cleared. I was looking at my parents' backyard. The same backyard I'd helped them landscape 5 years ago when they decided they needed a proper entertaining space. There were white string lights hanging from the trees. Round tables covered in linen. A small stage with a microphone. Everything looked elegant and expensive. The camera was stationary, probably set up on a tripod. I could see about 40 people milling around, holding champagne glasses, laughing. I recognized most of them. Family friends. Neighbors. My aunt and uncle. And there, in the center of it all, were my parents. My mother looked beautiful. She was wearing a long silver dress that shimmered under the lights. Her hair was styled in soft curls. She was glowing. My father stood next to her in a dark suit, his arm around her waist. They looked happy. They looked like people who had everything they'd ever wanted. My sister Bryn was there too, standing next to her fiancé Derek. She was wearing a dress that probably cost more than I made in a month. She looked radiant. Perfect. My brother Cameron was laughing with a group of people near the bar. His wife Natasha was holding their toddler, bouncing him on her hip. Everyone looked so comfortable, so at ease. I was watching my family celebrate without me, and they didn't look like they were missing anything. The speeches started at 6:30. My father went first. He stood at the microphone, cleared his throat, and smiled at the crowd. 30 years, he said. 30 years ago, I married the love of my life. It hasn't always been easy. We've had our struggles. We've had our hard times. But we've made it through together. The crowd clapped. My mother wiped her eyes. We've been blessed with 3 beautiful children, he continued. Cameron, who's built a wonderful life with Natasha. Bryn, who's about to start her own journey with Derek. He paused. I waited for him to mention me. I waited for him to say my name. But he didn't. He just smiled and raised his glass. To my family, he said. To the people who stand by you no matter what. My mother spoke next. She talked about love and commitment and weathering storms together. She thanked everyone for coming. She thanked Bryn for helping plan the party. She thanked Cameron for the toast he'd given earlier that I hadn't seen. She didn't thank me. She didn't mention me. It was like I'd never existed. I sat on my couch, watching this celebration of a marriage I'd helped sustain, and I felt nothing. No sadness. No anger. Just a cold, empty clarity. They didn't miss me. They didn't need me. They never had. I was a bank account with legs, and now that they had a new account, I was obsolete. The party went on. People danced. People ate. People laughed. At 8 p.m., they brought out a cake. It was enormous, 3 tiers, covered in white fondant and gold detailing. My mother and father cut it together while everyone cheered. I closed the laptop. I'd seen enough. I stood up and walked to my kitchen. I poured myself a glass of wine. I sat back down and opened my banking app. The mortgage payment I'd canceled was due on Monday. That was 2 days away. I wondered if they'd noticed yet. I wondered if they'd checked their account and seen that the money wasn't there. I didn't have to wait long to find out. My phone rang at 9:23 p.m. It was my father. I stared at his name on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before I answered. Hello, I said. My voice was calm. Olivia. His voice was tight and controlled. We need to talk. About what? About the payment. The mortgage payment. It didn't go through. I know, I said. There was a pause. I could hear music in the background. The party was still going. What do you mean you know? I mean I canceled it, I said. I canceled all of them. Another pause. Longer this time. Olivia, this isn't funny. The payment is due Monday. If it doesn't go through, we're going to get hit with a late fee. Then I suggest you make the payment, I said. With what? His voice was rising now, the control slipping. You know we don't have. I know you don't have the money, I interrupted. I know because I've been paying your mortgage for 15 years. I've been paying for everything. Your cars. Your insurance. Your phone bills. Your parties. I've given you $127,000, Dad. Did you even know that? Did you even keep track? Silence. I sent you a spreadsheet, I continued. It's all there. Every payment. Every transfer. Every time I said yes when I should have said no. I want to be paid back. Paid back? He sounded genuinely confused, as if the concept of repaying a debt was foreign to him. Olivia, we're family. You don't charge the family. You're right, I said. Family doesn't charge family. But the family also doesn't invite family to their anniversary party because they found someone richer to impress. That's not, he started, but I cut him off. Yes, it is. You didn't want me there because I'm not impressive anymore. I'm not useful. Bryn's marrying Derek, and he's got the kind of money that makes me look poor. You don't need me now. So you cut me out. You sent me an email like I was a subscription you were canceling. Olivia, you're being unreasonable. Am I being unreasonable? I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my own ears. I've spent 15 years bankrupting myself to keep you comfortable, and I'm being unreasonable? We never asked you to. Yes, you did. Every time you called with an emergency. Every time you looked at me with those desperate eyes and said you just needed a little help. You asked. And I gave in. And you took. And you never once said thank you. You never once offered to pay me back. You just kept talking until there was nothing left. My father was quiet. In the background, I could hear someone laughing. Someone clinking glasses. The party was still going. They were celebrating while I was telling him the truth he'd ignored for 15 years. The account is closed, I said. You're on your own now. Figure it out like everyone else has to. Olivia, please. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel cruel. I felt free. The calls started coming in fast after that. My mother called 6 times. My brother called twice. My sister sent a barrage of texts. What the hell is wrong with you? You're ruining their anniversary. This is so selfish. Dad is having a panic attack. I didn't respond. I turned my phone on silent and set it face down on the coffee table. I poured another glass of wine. I sat in the quiet of my apartment and felt the weight I'd been carrying for 15 years finally lift off my shoulders. Sunday morning, I woke up to 43 missed calls and 27 text messages. I didn't read them. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I knew what they'd say. They'd beg. They'd guilt trip. They'd call me names. They'd tell me I was destroying the family. But the family had been destroyed a long time ago. I was just the last one to realize it. I made coffee. I sat on my couch. I opened my laptop and looked at my bank account. The money that usually disappeared on the first of every month was still there. All of it. I stared at the number and felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like I had a future again. Monday afternoon, I got an email from my brother. The subject line was, "We need to talk in person." I deleted it without reading it. Tuesday, my mother left a voicemail. Her voice was small and broken. "Olivia, please. I don't understand why you're doing this. We love you. You're our daughter. Please call me back." I didn't. Love, I'd learned, was supposed to be more than a word. It was supposed to be action. It was supposed to be respected. It was supposed to be seeing someone and valuing them, not for what they could give you, but for who they were. My parents didn't love me. They loved what I could do for them. And the moment I couldn't do it anymore, I became disposable. Wednesday, my father sent a text. It was short. "Fine. We'll figure it out ourselves. Don't contact us again." I read it twice. And then I smiled. Because that was exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be left alone. I wanted to stop being the invisible ATM. I wanted to be Olivia again, not just the person who paid the bills. I blocked their numbers. All of them. My parents. My siblings. I blocked them on social media. I deleted the family group chat. I erased them from my phone like they'd erased me from their anniversary party. It's been 3 months now. I don't know if they figured out the mortgage. I don't know if they sold the house or if Derek stepped in to save them. I don't know, and I don't care. That chapter of my life is closed. I moved into a new apartment last month. It's bigger than the studio. It has a real bedroom and a kitchen with a window that gets morning light. I bought new furniture. Not expensive furniture, but mine. I cooked my first real meal in years, something other than ramen. I invited my friend Zara over, and we sat on my new couch and ate pasta and drank wine, and I told her everything. She cried. She told me I should have done it years ago. She told me I was brave. I didn't feel brave. I just felt lighter. I've started saving money. Real money. Money that doesn't disappear every month into someone else's emergency. I'm planning a trip to Italy next year. I'm going alone. I'm going to see art and eat good food and not think about anyone but myself. At night, sometimes, I think about that live stream. I think about my parents standing in their backyard, surrounded by people, looking happy and whole. I think about the way my father said, "To the people who stand by you no matter what," and how he didn't see the irony. I stood by them. For 15 years, I stood by them. I gave them everything. And the moment I stopped, they erased me. But that's okay. Because I've learned something important. You can't force people to see your value. You can't sacrifice yourself into being loved. All you can do is stop participating in your own erasure. I don't regret sending that spreadsheet. I don't regret canceling the payments. I don't regret choosing myself. Because for the first time in 15 years, I'm not invisible. I'm here. I'm whole. And I'm free. If you've ever been the person everyone leans on but no one sees, share this story. You don't owe anyone your future. You don't owe anyone your peace. And you are allowed to close accounts that have been overdrawn for far too long. The cost of my freedom was $127,000 and a family that never really saw me. But looking at my new apartment, my full bank account, and my plans for Italy, I know I got the better deal. Subscribe if you believe that sometimes walking away isn't giving up. Sometimes it's the only way to save yourself.